Lesson 29, I will represent and solve four-digit dividend division with divisors of 2, 3, 4, and 5. So in this lesson, we're continuing to deepen our understanding of how we can use long division to divide four-digit numbers by the divisors 2, 3, 4, and 5. So you'll notice in your problem set that the directions say divide and then check using multiplication. Remember, if you still need to use your place value chart to help you divide, please get it out. Get it out of your personal whiteboard and use it as much as you need to. Just try to figure out how your place value chart is relating to this long division. I am only going to show the long division, not the place value chart in most of these problems. All right, so I have 1,672 divided by 4. Now the first thing I notice is that I begin this problem with 1,000. I cannot take 1,000 and divide it by 4. So I have to take this 1,000 and unbundle it into hundreds. So I have to think of this as 1,600s. So if I have 1,600s divided by 4, how many 4s would that be? Well, I know 4 times 4 is 16. Notice I put the 4 in the hundreds place in the quotient because these are hundreds. If I put it in the thousands place, I would end up with the wrong answer. So 4 times 4 would be 16. So I have no hundreds left over. So now I'm going to bring down my tens, and I'm going to start over by dividing my tens. 7 tens divided by 4. Well, that would be 1. 1 times 4 is 4. 7 minus 4 is 3. So I would have 3 tens left over. So I'm going to take these 3 tens and add them to these 2 ones. And now I have 32 ones. So I have to think to myself, what is 32 divided by 4? So if I count by 4s to 32, I will get 8. 8 times 4 is 32. That leaves me with a remainder of 0. So now I'm ready to check my work. I'm going to take 418 times 4. I want you to go ahead and solve this problem, and then let's come back and see how you did. Okay, did you get 1,672 like I did? If you did, then it looks like our answer is correct. All right, so let's try the next problem. So this problem is very similar to the last one. We've got 1,578 divided by 4. If you feel pretty confident, go ahead and pause the video, and you can come back and check. If you're still having a little bit of trouble understanding how to do long division, just stay with me and I'll walk you through this problem. So the first thing I notice is I have 1,000. I cannot take 1,000 and divide it by 4. So I'm going to have to think of this as 1,500s. So when I count by 4s, 4, 8, 12, 16. 16 is too much, so I have to go back to 12, which is 3 4s. So 4 times 3 is 12. Now when I subtract, I have 300s left over. So I'm going to add my 300s to these 7 10s. Now I'm going to divide 37 10s. So again, I can count by 4s. And when I count by 4s, I finally get to 4 times 9, which gives me 36. When I subtract 36, I have 1 10 left over. I'm going to add it to this 8 ones, and now I have 18 ones. 18 ones divided by 4 is 4, and 4 times 4 is 16. Leaves me with a remainder of 2. Now, let's check this problem. So my quotient is 394. I'm dividing by 4, so to check, I'm going to multiply by 4. Let's go ahead and pause the video, and I want you to finish checking and see if we got the right answer. Okay, so when I multiplied 39 times 4, I ended up with 1,576, and then I had to add my remainder of 2, which gave me 1,578. All right, let's try C. Now, this one is dividing by 2, so I really think if you have been a little afraid or a little intimidated to try one of these problems by yourself, this will be a good one for you to try by yourself. I want you to do as much of this problem as you can by yourself. If you get stuck, just press play and I'll help you through it. But I want you to try to do as much of this as you can by yourself. Okay, so let's check your work. Okay, so let's start right here with 6,948 divided by 2. So first of all, I took my 6,000s and divided it by 2, and that was 3. So 3 times 2 is 6. So that means that I used all of the thousands. I had no thousands left over. So then I was ready to divide my hundreds. 9 hundredths divided by 2 gave me 4 hundredths. 4 times 2 is 8. 9 minus 8 gives me 100 left over. I add that to my 4 tens. I've got 14 tens. 14 tens divided by 2 is 7. 7 times 2 is 14. When I subtracted, I had 0. I added my 8 ones, and 8 divided by 2 was 4, and 4 times 2 is 8, so I ended up with a remainder of 0. So then I was ready to check my work. I did 3,474 times 2, and that gave me 6,948. All right, let's try D. So again, I'd like for you to try to do this problem all by yourself. Let's take 8,949 divided by 8, and I want to see if you can't get a little further by yourself every time till eventually you can do the whole problem by yourself. Okay, so let's take a look at how you did. So first of all, we had 8 thousands divided by 4, and that was 2. 2 times 4 is 8. 8 minus 8 gave me 0 thousands left over. So then I brought down my 9 hundredths. 9 hundredths divided by 4 is 2. 2 times 4 is 8. 9 minus 8 is 1. And I added that 100 to the 4 tens. That gave me 14 tens. 14 tens divided by 4 is 3. 3 times 4 is 12. 14 divided by, minus 12 left me with 2 tens. I added that to my 9 ones, and now I have 29 ones. I divided that by 4. That gave me 7. 7 times 4 was 28. That left me with a remainder of 1. So now you can see why this is called long division, because it kind of gets long. But you're basically just doing the same thing over and over and over again. So now we're going to check 2,237 times 4. That gave me 8,948. I added my remainder of 1, and that gave me 8,949. All right, let's try problem E. Again, I want you to try to do as much of this problem as you can all by yourself. So we're taking 7,569 divided by 2. Every time, I want you to try to see if you can get a little bit further. If you're just copying every single time, you're not going to get any better at it. You have to try to do as much of it as you can by yourself, and then eventually you're going to be able to do it all by yourself. Okay, so let's start with our 7 thousands. 7 thousands divided by 2 is 3. Then I multiply 3 times 2. That gives me 6. When I subtract, I'm left with 1,000 left over, and I add that to my 5 hundredths. So now I start over. 15 hundredths divided by 2. That would be 7. 7 times 2 is 14. And when I subtract, I'm left with 100, which I added to my 6 tens. And then I start over again. 16 tens divided by 2. That is 8. 8 times 2 is 16, which leaves me with no tens. So I go ahead and bring down my 9 ones. 9 ones divided by 2 is 4. So I have 4 times 2, which is 8. That leaves me with a remainder of 1. And then I was ready to check. So I took my quotient. I was dividing by 2, so I multiplied by 2, and that gave me 7,568. I added that to 1, and it gave me 7,569. All right, I'd like for you to try to do F all by yourself as much as you can. Again, when you get stuck, press play, but I hope that you'll find that you can do a little bit more each time. Okay, so let's take a look at this problem. So we took 7 thousands, and we divided it by 3. So 7 divided by 3 is 2. 2 times 3 is 6. So when I subtracted my thousands, I was left with 1,000 left over, and I added that to 5 hundredths. So then I had 15 divided by 3, which is 5. 5 times 3 is 15. When I subtracted, I had 0 hundredths. I added that to my 6 tens. 6 tens divided by 3 was 2. 2 times 3 is 6. That gave me no tens left over, so I had 9 ones. 9 ones divided by 3 is 3. and 3 times 3 is 9, which is 0, so I had no remainder. So then I took my quotient, which is 2,523. I was dividing by 3, so I multiplied by 3, and that gave me 7,569. Now, I know that your problem set has a G, an H, an I, and a J, but we're going to skip those and head on over to this application problem. Okay, so let's use our RDW process with this problem, and let's begin by reading. There are twice as many cows as goats on a farm. All the cows and goats have a total of 1,116 legs. How many goats are there? Interesting. Okay, so first of all, I hear a comparison here. I hear that there are twice as many cows as goats. So here's my goats, and here's my cows. There are twice as many cows as there are goats, but I don't know how many cows and I don't know how many goats. But what I do know is that when you take all of this and you multiply it by how many legs are on an animal? 4. So when I take all of this times 4, that equals 1,116. So, how do you think I should begin this problem? I'm going to have to kind of use a backwards approach to this. I'm going to have to start by dividing this number to see how many animals there are. So let's take 1,116 and divide it by 4, and let's see how many animals there are. I'm going to pause the video and I want you to divide. Okay, so I divided 1,116 by 4 and I ended up with no remainder, and I ended up with this number, 279. So that tells me that there are 279 animals. So I know that altogether there are 279 animals on this farm. So what can I do with that information? Well, if I took this number and I divided it by 3, then that should tell me the number that should belong in each of these boxes. So let's take 279 and divide it by 3. And we can do this together because I think it's going to be pretty quick. All right, I can't divide 2 hundredths by 3, so I'm going to make this 27 tens, and 27 tens divided by 3 would be 9. 9 times 3 is 27, so that leaves 9 ones to divide, which would be 3, because 3 times 3 is 9, which gives me 0. So that means that there's 93 in each of these boxes. So now let's see what the question is asking us. The question says, how many goats are there? So can we answer that question now? Yes, we can. We can say there are 93 goats. All right, so remember we're working on our long division. If you're not fluent at this practice yet, that's okay. Keep trying. The more you do it, the better you will become.